All right, welcome back, True Seeker. Make sure my audio levels are good here. It looks like it's good. Again, just a heads up, you guys. There really is a nasty viral outbreak going around, and just a reminder: keep your immune system up. Vitamin D. The average American has a major vitamin D deficiency, especially this time of year when there's less sun. Good vitamin D supplement could go a long way. Vitamin D, vitamin C, good multivitamin. But yeah, my mom, who has a very robust immune system, she went through the whole scandemic without getting sick once. Uh, Man, she felt like she was on her deathbed, but she's pulled through. She's doing a lot better. She's over the hump. And it wasn't just her, like her whole neighborhood's wiped out. My sister, my sister's getting better now too. A lot of people. I was telling you, Big Al, he got sick. His wife got sick before him. She got so sick, she was coughing so hard, she broke ribs. Again, there is something nasty going around, and I know a lot of you guys leave comments. Zach, there's no such thing as germs. Stop spreading falsehoods. I think the only ones spreading falsehoods are you guys. As I've said, the only times I've gotten sick in the last decade is when Sweet Lady got ill first, and I was taking care of her, and I got sick after. Every time I've gotten sick in the last 10 years, it's been like that. And I just remember being a kid in school, something nasty going through the school, a bunch of people sick at once. I mean, to say there's no such thing as germs, I think, is just to defy very observable occurrences that seemingly happen to all of us. And going around spreading that kind of stuff could put you at a disadvantage. Maybe you think you can go in a room full of horribly ill people and you'll likely be unscathed because there's no such thing as germs. And the next thing you know, you're battling it out with the flu for weeks. My mom's neighbor had it before her. Him and his son are both sick. They live together. They've been dealing with this for over 5 weeks. So, I mean, that's a long time to be sick. But yeah, just a warning. I mean, they've been saying in the news that it's the worst flu outbreak in 15 years. And remember, in Gematria, flu equals 15. Again, 2025 was projected to be a year of depopulation by that Deagle website. And again, this illness does take out a lot of elderly and young. So just a warning. There is seemingly something nasty out there. Be on your P's and Q's to keep your immune system as high as possible. Just you're out in the public, try not to touch your face, these types of things. So just putting the warning out there so you don't have to deal with what two of my family members are dealing with right now. Yeah. That said, what I wanted to talk about is tonight that the debate is on. It will start at 6:15 p.m. Pacific time. I'm out on the West Coast. It's going to start 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It will be the same moderator as last week, but a different challenger. And I did do last week's debate with the intention of hoping to get the eyes and ears of the person who's challenging us tonight. And that's because he's considered a career debater and he's connected to a lot of big names on the tube that like to debate the destinies of the world and whatnot. And again, I would like to have a lot of people come and challenge this work and say it's stupid and meaningless and nonsense and tinfoil hat, just for the fact that I think all those arguments can be defeated and something needs to be done to get this information out in front of more eyes. That was something I felt that I was doing a good job at years ago, but the algorithm and the mass deletions and wherever I am now in algorithm hell have made it very hard to reach a new audience or even my own audience, seeing as how almost no one gets a notification. I mean, my Gematria Effect Sports channel, which was right up there almost at 100,000 subs and then dropped 6K subs overnight and has stayed at 89,000 subs for now exactly 2 years. Well, next month, it'll be exactly 2 years. It stayed at 89,000 subs. A pretty strange thing to happen. That channel gets no views at all. It's like nobody gets a notification anytime I make any video. So yeah, again, the idea of when I started this was to get the information out so that people can see what is really going on in this world. This is a real tool that I teach about each day to see what is really going on in the world in terms of how rigged the game is, how manipulative our government is, how manipulative our media is, how rigged these sports games are. And again, the thing is, people spend so much of their time watching news to get their information, trusting in their political party, allowing their hours to be wasted and their energy be manipulated by these rigged sports leagues. So I think everything that we're teaching is absolutely important to be an informed human being. And of course, there's other things to know as well. It's just this knowledge that we talk about. This was something that wasn't really on the map or on anyone's radar until I started putting it out in 2013. And again, tonight, the topic again will be debating, is my work useful or is it meaningless? And obviously the challenger who's going to step up to the plate is going to say it's completely meaningless. And he's a Christian. I'm going to show him how, as a Christian, you should absolutely have this knowledge in your hand. So yeah, again, I've shown how this knowledge can be used to not be manipulated by the media, to see through the agendas before they even arrive, to not get taken advantage of by the political process. And out of all the things I've taught about, the one that most people care about is the way the sports are rigged, because that's where they've been able to make financial gains. And of course, you can also use this knowledge for crypto and the markets. Again, what I'm teaching is the cabal's code, which again is alluded to in front of the CIA. The CIA has a statute called Cryptos, which is just a bunch of letters in English. Again, the practice of coding numbers into words is a form of cryptography, and this form of cryptography is used by all the things we're talking about, including the rigged sports leagues. And again, just to be as current as possible, let's just take a look at how the knowledge did yesterday in the NBA, in the NHL, in the NCAA men's basketball. Let's take a look. It was another day in the life of the knowledge. And, tonight you're going to hear my opponent say things like, well, picking sports games isn't a good proof of anything because everything's 50-50, which anyone with a brain knows is false. Not every game's 50-50. And when you're nailing sports futures of a league that has 30 to 32 teams, that's not 50-50. But anyway, again, just to go through yesterday's games. So again, I always put out the narratives, and sometimes it's a one-way street. Sometimes there's two sides to look at, but I always put out what I think is the top narrative and the way to play the game. And I teach people in my community to be conservative, often take dogs with points if they have a good narrative, tease it up to where the date numerology is. So case in point, yesterday, Knicks and Celtics. Knicks, dogs on the road at Boston. Everyone expects Boston to win. Boston did have the better narrative to win. Gematria usually beats date numerology. The best is when the Gematria and the date numerology align. But the top clue there was the Knicks getting the 41st win, or not the Knicks, the Celtics getting the 41st win, because Knicks equals 41, and the Knicks staying on 37 wins in TD Garden, the building Boston plays in. That 37 plays in that building, TD Garden equals 37. That's exactly what happened. And again, you can laugh at the scores because of how redundant they are. I mean, go through and see how many times the Celtics games will finish with 118 in the box score. Happens at way too high of a ratio. Celtics equals 118. Again, if you're new here, this practice of coding numbers into words comes from Kabbalah. There's 4 base ciphers of the English language: alphabetic order, reverse alphabetic order, both orders with numerology. All of these numbers will play in Celtics games. You could see a coach come in and get his 71st win or loss. 26 hits super hard with Celtics, 26th wins, 26th losses. 46 also plays. And don't forget, the 46th president, Joe Biden, his Secret Service name was Celtic. They synced up a lot with the Celtics and Biden in the time of his presidency, including the death of John Havlicek 17 days after his birthday, the same day that Joe Biden announced he was running for president. Of course, Havlicek wore number 17. The Mavericks and Warriors game, this game yesterday. So top narrative, a lot going on for the Warriors yesterday. And you got to pay attention to what the Warriors now do with Jimmy Butler. That they're syncing it up with, they have a new record since Jimmy Butler came over. Yesterday, the Warriors became 5-1 since getting Jimmy Butler by beating the most 51 team in the league, the Dallas Mavericks. Remember last year, they got new ownership, the casino owner 51 days after her birthday. If you look up, the Mavericks were established in history on 5-1, May 1st. And don't forget, when they took over the team last year, it was 150 weeks after her husband died, Sheldon Adelson, who's the guy who bankrolled Donald Trump in the 2016 election. And then you might recall last year was the 78th NBA Finals, and the only game the Mavericks won, the team owned by his buddy's wife, the only game they won was on Trump's 78th birthday. And don't forget, I mean, just like we've done so many years, the only team we had last year to win the finals preseason was the Celtics, because they're the only team whose full name equals 78 in the 78th season, plus the finals began on their 78th birthday. This year, we predicted before the season began that the Celtics would start the year 19-5. Boston Celtics 195. They're currently 18-5 in finals. Again, big basketball number. But anyway, again, the power of the knowledge, the predictive power of the knowledge. Tonight's guest will be asking me to make predictions in real time right there on the show. And I'm going to continue to say, listen, I make predictions every day for a living. It's why I've had a very good following since I monetized my work back in 2018, because we consistently win. And that's a very hard thing to do in the world of sports gambling, where the best known sports gamblers of all time have ratios just barely over 50%, something we've blown away in the years we've been doing this. And again, my work has inspired people to do even better than I've done. And I'm proud of that. And I promote those people. Shout out to the Chris's of the world. He might not have me in the NFL, but he's definitely got me in college sports. And he does something also with numbers, and he credits me for being his inspiration to continue with his craft and to get better at what he's doing. I've always wanted to lift other people up and help other people out. And that's why the first 5 years that I did this work, everything was totally free. I didn't decide to monetize this work, and I monetized it at a very low price until I ran into a financial problem in my own life. And I found out that I was pretty much blackballed from my own position. Again, that was in the late summer of 2018. I monetized this work for the 2018 football season. And again, if you were here, the first thing I did to get other people hooked was gave out a free 6-teamer for week 1 of that football season. Free 6-teamer cashed in a big way. The power of the knowledge. Okay, Clippers and Pacers game yesterday. Pacers win. What's the top narrative here? Pacers can get 16th home win. That was the date numerology. Los Angeles equals 53, the 16th prime. You remember Super Bowl 53 where LA lost and there were 16 points in the game? Just recurring patterns. Pacers can get 61st win in series. 61 breaks down to 7, just like 16. Yesterday's date numerology ultimately broke down to 7. Clippers can get 15th road loss. Indiana, 47, 15th prime. Clippers can stay on 31s going into the Pistons game. If you played all the Pistons 31 things that have come up this year, you've hit over 80% of your picks. Pistons in 31, one of those very consistent numbers. So they're going to go in, the Clippers, staying on 31 wins into the next match, the Pistons game. Again, looking at the game here, looking at the game ahead, getting as much information as possible to try and make the right call. Hawks can get 31st loss versus the Pistons. Did that happen yesterday? Yeah, the Hawks got the 31st loss versus the Pistons. Again, just following the winning patterns. And understand, that doesn't mean you can bet your house on it. Like I said, it's coming over 80% of the time. You go out and bet your house, you might be in one of those less than 20% situations. Again, you wouldn't get on a plane if I told you had almost 20% chance to die. You'd be like, no way am I taking that chance. Same reason you can't bet your house, and it's the same reason I teach people to be honest and consistent with the knowledge. We just had a gentleman join the community on Friday. He bet $10 and turned it into almost 120. He got big for his britches the next day. He bet 50. He won again. He showed me his 2 slips. I said, now listen, you did what I did. I tell you guys to do the first day. Keep your bets modest. So many people, that's the problem with gambling, right? You start winning, you start getting greedy, you start thinking you're invincible. You go out and you bet the house, 10 today, 50 tomorrow. Hey, I'm feeling like 5,000. I'm on fire. Just lost 5,000 on the third day. That's why I tell you people to just be consistent. If you just stay consistent with this knowledge, you can multiply. You can turn 10 into 100, into 200, into 300, into 500, into 1,000 some days. You don't really need to risk more than 10 unless you're a very wealthy person. And, even $100 bills chump change to you. But that's not most people's situation. Most people, the average person can afford to risk $10 in a day. And the average person wastes more than $10 every day on things they don't need. Fast food, bad for you, overpriced, waste of money. No chance on that overpriced burger and fries that you're probably going to pay $15 for with the soda that you also don't need that's going to give you diabetes in the long run. That you don't need to spend $15 on. Stay home, make a nice little meal at home. You can probably do it for $5 or less. You just saved yourself $10. With this $10, you have a chance to multiply it. Or, like I also say to people, another thing is you can just invest in things in the long run rather than gamble. Just be smart with your money. Put $10 a day away every day in the S&P 500. If you're not going to touch the money from 40 years from now, it's almost 100% guaranteed that in 40 years, your investment's going to be worth something. Again, the market, though, it can crash and you can lose a ton of money overnight. But if you don't need to touch that money for 30, 40 years, by the time it crashes, it's going to come way back up and even more, just like the market does throughout history. It's like we had people pulling their money out of the market before 2020 came around because I was telling people it was going to crash that year before the C-19 thing even happened. A lot of people were grateful for me because they listened and they pulled their money out before the market went down. You could have put it right back in once it hit the bottom and started to show signs of going back up. But my point is, had you not pulled out in the market, you would have lost a lot of money when it crashed. But look at where it is now compared to where it was then. It's more than doubled. So again, ultimately what I'm saying is I'm trying to teach people to just be intelligent people. There's a lot of ways to make money in this world. A key way is save your money and use it in things that are smarter than things that are wasteful. And some people would say, well, sports gambling is not the smartest thing you can do. There are smarter things, but you know what? Again, you use this knowledge and you're consistent, it's going to be very hard to become a loser. And by the way, about tonight's debate, this host, she is biased and she is friends with these people. And last week when they do the panel segment where they bring on people, she did bring in people that she already knew from her corner. Over the course of the night, we only got on 3 people from our community. And a lot of people told me they were left in the back room from our community. If you guys are watching tonight, when she drops that link to get in, I would like to see more people try to get in. And I'm going to say to her at the beginning that I'd appreciate this week if she keeps it moving with the panel rather than let morons stay up there for hours. Just let everybody have 5-10 minutes to say their piece and keep it moving to get someone new in. I'm going to make that request. I don't know if she will do that. But, you know, one of my most dedicated trolls got on and he sat on there all night. And again, just a totally disingenuous person. He came into the community as a troll. He left as a troll. And he's blaming me that he didn't win enough. It's like, well, you never did anything I ever told you to do. Again, he'll sync up basketball games with baseball players. It's like, well, why are we doing that? I mean, sometimes there'll be games will be coinciding in the same day, but there's no reason right now in the off season of baseball to be doing a basketball decode based on some random baseball player you chose. So again, I'd also like to see tonight better people get on there and not my most dedicated trolls who are total morons. And I'm sure he's watching right now and he's probably hoping he gets on again tonight. It's like, dude, you don't need to come back on. You said your piece last week. You're totally full of shit. And again, you know what happened the last time you called on my show? I had to shut you down because you were trying to get people to go against the best pick of the day, which came in with a total bullshit decode. So anyway, back to how we did. Let's continue. Wizards and Magic. Wizards can get 47th loss. Orlando, the old stadium name of Orlando, their old stadium name, which is eluding my mind right now, equaled 47. Orlando, FL's 47. And you can see that they even put the details for the game. It's on Orlando FL, not to mention Orlando's the 407 area code. So when 47 comes up in Orlando, it's usually the best scenario. Wizards picked up the 47th loss in Orlando last night. Raptors and Suns, this game, Toronto slight favorite. And honestly, that was the thing that really made me put this up as the top pick. Because why is Orlando the favorite? They're one of the worst teams in the NBA. And this is the way Vegas gets gamblers every day. People are looking, they're like, oh, God, I got value on the Suns to win over the lowly Raptors. And sure enough, that's how they put the worm on the hook. Toronto did win. And there was a little Mark of the Beast ritual for the 54th day of the year. Remember, Mark of the Beast equals 54. Kobe had his career high against the Raptors in his 666th game. There might be something to that as well. But anyway, Raptors did prevail. Bucks and Heat yesterday. Let's see. This game right here, I told people it was smart to take the Heat at plus 7.5 because you had good narratives on both sides. The date numerology yesterday was 7. If you teased the Heat up to plus 7.5, you lost a little value. But what did the Heat lose by? They lost by 7. If you took them at plus 7.5, my advice, you won. Spurs and Pelicans. I was on the wrong side of this game. I knew there was a chance that these guys could split. I hate, so the NBA and NHL, a lot of these leagues started doing this in recent years, having teams play each other back to back. And obviously it saves them on travel costs. But sometimes they play back-to-back in one person's city and then they travel to the next city. I honestly think that the reason they started doing this in recent years is because of our community. It makes it harder to pick the game because now you got to think like, okay, they can hit the number this game or the next game versus the opponent because they're playing back-to-back. So this is something I hate that pro sports started doing in recent years. And a lot of times these games where they play back-to-back are just games to stay away from. But, taking a stab at it, if you did play that game, I was on the wrong side of that one. I favored the Spurs narrative. The Grizzlies and the Cavs yesterday. Cavs only a 5.5-point favorite. They did cover the spread. It was 7-8 numerology, alluding to the idea they could cover the spread. But the big thing here is just understanding who runs the leagues. Again, Isus hominum salvator, the Jesuit motto. Again, it's the Jesuits that run the show. They control these leagues. They gave us the calendar, the language. Isus hominum salvator equals 274 and 266. What is that phrase associated with? The sun. Yesterday was the 54th day of the year, sun 54. So what do the Cavs do by winning? They become 27-4 at home, and they do it 266 days after their coach's birthday. Isus hominum salvator, 274 and 266. And again, the Catholic Church began celebrating the sun's birthday in 274 AD. We're in the time of the first Jesuit Pope, the 266th Pope. So that was the top clue on the 54th day of the year. Cavs prevail. And Thunder and Timberwolves. Thunder had the date numerology going their way, the sun connection, the Gematria, several things on the top for them. Another way to play that game, as I said, is you could take the Timberwolves with the points because they're a 9.5-point dog on 7-date numerology. So with either scenario there, you would have been a winner. Thunder win by 7 on the 7-date numerology. And count it up. How many games were there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 9-1 for the day in the NBA. Not too shabby. NHL. Just like I told you guys last time I did one of these streams. I love good narratives in the NHL with a dog, and I love to play it conservative. You can take dogs with the goals, which means they can lose by 1 and you still win the game. There's a lot of 1-goal games in the NHL. So if you have a dog with a good narrative to upset and you take them with goals, you're giving yourself a really good chance to win the game. And so let's go through the NHL yesterday. Capitals had the narrative to win, to get the 84th points over the Oilers, which equals 84 on a Sunday where 84 plays. Capitals were actually slight underdogs at home. And did the Capitals win? They actually kicked the Oilers' ass 7-3. Edmonton, for the record, equals 37. So Capitals, winning scenario, could have taken them with the goals. Boom. Rangers and Penguins did on the wrong side of this one. And like I told people, had this been a pickup the points narrative, it would have been a lot better. The chance of the Penguins upsetting was to keep the Rangers on 58 points because Pittsburgh does equal 58. Stay narratives are not as consistent, but that one did not work out. The Ducks and the Red Wings. Ducks, big-time dogs on the road at the Red Wings. Another team that you can take with the goals. The Ducks lose by 1. They cover the spread, winning bet. Kraken and Lightning, like I said, the Kraken looked like dead meat yesterday. They didn't have really any value, the Lightning, so it's no bragging rights. It's just there's very consistent numbers. 25 plays hard in Tampa Bay. 19 plays hard with Seattle. Lightning get the 19th home win, keep the Kraken on 25 wins in Tampa Bay. Blow them out 4-1. The Blues and the Avalanche. Avalanche equals 31, 3-1 score. That's the thing, too, with this knowledge. You can take shots at the scores because the scores can be very redundant. The Blues also have the 31 connection. Blues is 31. Avalanche is 31. So often when teams have an overlap number, those scores will happen. They're not going to happen every time. But again, hey, you're risking $1 on an exact score with a group of things you like for the day. It's the way to turn $1 into $100. And again, you live in a world where people like to gamble. You do. It's just face facts. There's people who are addicted to gambling. You go to a grocery store, there's going to be a lady or even a guy spending $100 on a dollar scratch-its, hoping they're going to hit $1 million on the 100. And by the time they're done scratching, they've probably won $55 for the day and lost. They're negative 45. Plus, they're just scratching away all day doing something mindless. Give that person this knowledge. Use your brain. Risk $1 and try to win $100 for the day and not get your nails covered in probably toxic silver scratch-it crap. But anyway, this game yesterday, The Blues Avalanche game. Colorado can stay on 33 wins. Number that plays on Sunday. Colorado can stay on 17 road wins. Blues 59, 17 prime. Colorado can get 14th road loss. That was the big one. Blues 14 in the most peer. Again, base ciphers. Stronger narrative is with the Blues to upset, who have good value at home. But again, you want to play it extra safe? Take them with the goals. Give yourself multiple ways to win. Boom. The Devils and the Predators game. I was on the wrong side of this one. I can't fade 16 in Tennessee, especially on 16 date numerology. There was a chance for the Devils to stay on 16 road wins. 16 typically plays in Tennessee. It didn't play yesterday, but usually that is a good pattern for us. Devils whoop the Predators' ass. Wrong side of that game. Maple Leafs in Chicago. Chicago in 35 plays. Maple Leafs get the 35th win. That was the top clue in that game. Maple Leafs for the 35th win. Stars and Islanders. Islanders, slight dogs at home with a decent narrative to win, decent narrative to lose too. But again, same scenario right here. You got the Islanders as dogs at home with I would argue, the better narrative to be the winning side of the equation. And understand, when a dog loses the game but covers the spread, that is the winning side of the equation. Islanders lost by a goal, essentially covered the hockey spread, winning bet. Sharks and Flames yesterday. Sharks, again, big time underdog. Plenty of narrative to win. Underdogs can be taken with the goals. Sharks, how much did they lose by? They lost by 1 goal. They covered the spread. Utah and Vancouver. Vancouver, the dog on the road with plenty of narrative to win. But I did underline here because I was like, they're probably going to get the 14th road loss. Again, in hockey, you have 9 regulation road losses, 4 in overtime, so they have 13 combined losses. They did pick up their 14th. I thought it was more likely that they would lose the game, and they did, but I thought they had a great narrative to cover, and they did cover, and they won. So in hockey yesterday, how many games were there? There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 8 and 10 in hockey. So 9 and 1 in the NBA. We hit 8 out of 10 in hockey. 8 and 2. So what is that? 17 and 3 between the NBA and NHL yesterday. 17 and 3. And in college basketball, I told people the narrative I liked out of the ranked games yesterday was the middle game. Very strong narrative. Indiana was a 3.5-point underdog. Look at this narrative with Indiana. Look at this narrative. And yes, the other games, I told you I wasn't as crazy about the other games. I said the game of the day in college basketball is right here. Look at this narrative, you guys. Indiana's the dog, but look at it. Indiana can become 70 and 70 versus Purdue. Yesterday was February 23rd, 2025. 2 plus 23 plus 20 plus 25 is 70, which will break down to 7. Indiana did win and became 70 and 70 versus Purdue all time. Indiana can get the 16th win. They got the 16th win. The small way, 2 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 is 16. 1 plus 6 is 7. So again, you look at the date numerology pass. Indiana gets their 16th win. Indiana is the 19th state in order of statehood. Both of these are Indiana schools. Purdue's in Indiana. Purdue stayed on 19 wins. Indiana can become 7 and 9 in the Big Ten. Look how perfect this is. Indiana with the upset. Indiana Hoosiers. 79 in the most peer. Boilermakers is who they were playing. Run it in reverse. Boilermakers, 79. On top of that, yesterday, Indiana coach can get 79th win. So they become 7 and 9 in the Big Ten. Coach gets 79th win. Purdue can get the 9th loss. Remember, it was the 54th day of the year. So I told people I thought the Sun numbers were going to do very well yesterday on the 54th day of the year on a Sunday, and they did. I mean, yesterday what we did, I'm not saying yesterday was an average day. Yesterday was an above average day. However, you rewind 5-6 years ago, this is what every day used to look like. Every day used to look like this because it used to be this easy. Why have things changed? Because more people have caught on. The casinos and bookies need to keep their edge on the populace. Certain things that used to come in at a very high percentage do not anymore. But again, the point is, if you're consistent with the knowledge, you're not greedy, you learn how to turn the $5 or the $10 bill into a lot bigger bill each day. You just stay consistent. You never bet more than you can afford to lose. This is a winning method. 5 years from now, is it still going to be a winning method? I don't know. That remains to be seen. I could argue that based on the trajectory of where things have gone over the last 5-6 years in light of certain winning percentages no longer being what they once were, it's possible that in 5 years, if the world continues to catch on, that this system will be kaput and it won't be winning. It won't be able to give you futures anymore. It won't be able to produce better than 50-50 results. It's possible that it's in the future that could happen. That said, if you understand the way they rig games and you have the knowledge, you might figure out the adjustments they make, because the game's always going to be rigged. So understanding that the game's rigged is always going to give you the insight into figuring out how it's rigged. Exactly why I figured this out in the first place. It was always obvious to me that pro sports are rigged. And I think if more people had above room temperature IQs, they would know the exact same thing. I really think the reason a lot of people don't see the obvious is just because of limited intelligence, for lack of a better way to put it. But coming back to this game, Purdue could also fall to 11-6 in the conference. They're playing the University of Indiana, right? University of Indiana equals what? Equals 116. For all the people who say you're using multiple systems, understanding why they use multiple systems is as simple as looking at a sports game. This gives them a set of number combinations to work with in a ritual. Imagine if it was just one thing and it was just always the same recurring number. Don't you think it'd be even more easy for people to catch on to, wait a minute, the same number keeps happening every time these teams play? You give them 4 different numbers, it scrambles their brain and they don't catch on to the patterns. Most people's pattern recognition skills are pretty low. And again, pattern recognition is directly correlated with intelligence. So anyway, this was the game of the day yesterday. And again, it was major cash. Indiana beat them by 15. St. John's, UConn, I told you I wasn't crazy about that game. Florida Atlantic, I thought they did have a good chance to at least cover the spread and maybe upset. But I told people, if you're doing one game in college basketball, it's this one right here. Indiana, this is a super, I mean, look at that narrative. I mean, if you can't understand why that's a super strong narrative, again, I mean, you're looking at the wrong thing. Conference record, coach record, surface record, 19th state, boom, boom, boom. This is what you live for in decoding, a narrative like that. And usually when you're getting upsets, it's a game just like this. You know, they're a slight dog. They're not a big dog, but they have a nice value. So anyway, glorious day yesterday. That was the college game of the day. A lot of things look good in the NBA and NHL, especially, like I said, with every hockey game I called out where I said, this dog right here has a strong narrative win. You take them with the goals. You're giving yourself all kinds of ways to win. Very, very nice day yesterday. And yeah, tonight when I debate, I'll just I'll say, listen, man, no, I'm not going to give you a debate right now because I don't need to. See, the thing is, when people come and act like I need to call something, some future thing, that's their ignorance, right? That's their ignorance that they don't know the track record of predictions. And again, you have all these little liars and agents and trolls who come out of the woodwork. Just like I said, the dumb troll who came on last week who's like, you like Kamala Harris to win the election. That's completely false and totally misleading statement. For 4 years, I was saying why Trump was going to come back. It is true that when Kamala became the candidate, which was also something we predicted years in advance, that it wouldn't be Biden in the 2024 election, it would be Kamala. Another correct prediction. The rituals they started doing with Kamala made me entertain the idea that I could be wrong about Trump, and I showed the things they were doing that were 47 with her. But I said, this is also reminding me of how I came off Trump in 2016, and I never should have, because I called it out in 2015 why he was going to win. And again, what did I do the night before the election? I said it was in stone for Trump based on the rituals they did in the rigged sports leagues. So when you have people coming on and claiming that I liked Kamala and I called it for Kamala, these people are liars and frauds. Again, for years, we said it would be Trump. I did waver a little bit with the ritualism they did with Kamala, which to me is fair. It's like, well, listen, they were paying tribute to 47 with her. You had to entertain the idea. People who don't entertain both sides of an equation are often the people who are the most wrong in this world. And also, a lot of my haters, they'll look and they'll go like, Zach was on both sides of every game. Okay, if you're a low IQ person, that's what you think a narrative like this is. You said, oh, you had a or this could happen. Again, you have to look at the pros and cons of every game and look for the most lopsided narratives that have value, that make the most sense. Anyone with a brain to be like, you know what, Indiana makes a ton of sense. And yeah, if I want to play it extra conservative, I could tease my plus 7.5, get myself cushion and make my pick almost invincible. Um, Again, I don't tell people what to do. I show people how I look at games and how to use the knowledge and how to benefit and consistently stay ahead and call futures and win games. And understand the one gentleman who's in my community who I think his method might very well have surpassed mine. The one thing that he also learned from me is he's not going to teach people his method. He's only going to give people his picks because he doesn't want the people who control the thing to know exactly what he's doing, but he's also doing something based on numbers and pattern recognition. But he's not giving away his secrets. He's gotten written down in paper journals, not in the internet for other prying eyes. And I can't blame him for that. And it's just like my buddy who I went to business school with, Arizona State. When I first learned about this, he was one of the only people who was entertaining what I was saying, and that's because he's also an intelligent person and an entrepreneur. And he said, "Zach, you got something here. You better never share how you're doing this with anybody." And I said, "Well," I said, "I see what you're saying, but I'm trying to help people come up, and I'm trying to help people see how the game is rigged." Sometimes I debate if I could rewind the clock and go back in time, would I take his advice and keep all this secret to myself? Sometimes I entertain that. I think I would have been a lot better off for my own self. But again, people, anytime I bring that, people say, "Nah, Zach, you've helped me out so much, man. If you kept this to yourself, I'd be in a whole different spot." And ultimately, I think that is the better thing in this world. The downside, though, is in 5 years, if this no longer works at all and doesn't help anymore, then again, it helped people in the time that it was here. But by giving away our methods for seeing through how the game was rigged, they were able to adjust, and we're back to square one. Then again, coming back to square one, you can't figure it out again. Like I said, as long as the game stays rigged, there'll be a way to figure out how it's rigged. So yeah, if you guys want to participate tonight, again, the debate starts at 6:15 Pacific, 9:15 Eastern. Yes, it is going to be the same host, but the person debating will be a better contestant. And they never concede that they're wrong, so don't expect them to act like they've been defeated. But it will be apparent that they're getting smoked. And it should be quite interesting. Him and I are about the same age. I think I'm about 6 months older than he is. But he's known for debating. That's what he makes his living, going around debating people every day. And he mostly sticks to the topic of religion. And that's exactly where I'm going to meet him at to begin tonight is, again, from your own book, Revelation 13:18. "Here is wisdom. Let him who hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man." And he's going to lay out that he does not know how to do that. And I'll say, well, isn't that interesting? As a Christian, even in your own text, it gave you the insight that the man with wisdom does know how to do this. And we will demonstrate that our community does have wisdom and we do know how to do this. And the advantages of doing that, as we demonstrated and as I wrote a book about before the whole thing played out back in 2020. And we'll get into other things as well. And I'll save some of those things for the debate. So there's some fun things to witness and to see how he reacts to. But yeah, again, the way this format works is she likes to go for 6 hours. That's what they like to do on their channel. And I did not realize that going in last Monday, but I stuck it out for all 6 hours because I didn't want it to seem like I bitched out or ran away. So it's probably going to be another 6-hour event tonight. And again, the first two or so hours are the head-to-head debate, and then comes in the panelists. And again, I'm going to request at the beginning of the show that this week she cycle through people that get in the back room, because last week it was very biased. She was bringing in all their buddies and Jim Bob's people, and I was told by a number of people who were in the back room that they were never let on. And if you guys watched the debate last week, we had a gentleman came on who read from Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages to validate something I said, because somebody came on and said that I lied about that, which I didn't. And then he read right from the book to prove what I said was true. And then she kicked him off. I was like, oh, that was weird. And again, shout out to 510. He was on there. 510 is a big advocate of the work, but not always the best at articulating his points. And the troll got on there, who's just a total joke of a human being. And we did get one other person on at the end of the stream who came on and laid down some beautiful gematria decodes in the world of sports. Um, I'd like to see more people get on like that and shoot their shot. And, just like the other week when I did the stream of, come on and share your Gematria story. Has this knowledge been useful to you? You had people come on and share that story. One gentleman said he never had 7 figures in his bank account until he came across this knowledge. There's a lot of stories like that in our community. I'd like to see more people get on like that and talk about what the knowledge has done for them, how it is useful, how it's helped them. And it might be a lot of people coming on and talking about sports gambling, and some people will like roll their eyes at that, like, oh my God, sports gambling. But really, all those people who are rolling their eyes are not thinking clearly, because if you can use anything in this world to help you get ahead financially, we live in a financial system. Everyone has bills to pay. Unless you want to be out on the street begging, you got bills to pay. And any knowledge that can help you get ahead. And again, this knowledge isn't just about sports gambling. You can use it for the market. You can use it for crypto. I've proven and demonstrated all those things, making accurate forecasts. People will be like, well, do it right now. Do it right now. It's not like it's magic. You have to do the research. You have to have researched a pattern and understand it well enough to make an accurate forecast. Anyone who listens to what I say can apply the knowledge and do the research and learn how to make the most accurate forecasts. Again, there's a gentleman in this world who saw my Bitcoin prediction years ago for why it was going to shoot up to 45K, more than 50% of its value in a month and a half's time. And it did that. And he launched a Gematria channel completely dedicated to crypto. And look at what he does. He charges $300 a month. We got somebody calling in. Hold on one second, 585. He charges $300 a month to emulate what he saw for free that I put out there. And I hear a lot of people from that community come over and say, Zach, he charges all this money and he doesn't make nearly as accurate a forecast as you on crypto whenever you throw them out. Last year, when I had everybody getting out at the 72K mark on the 72nd day of the year, which I called a couple months in advance, he was telling this community to ride it out to 150K. They lost a lot of money, and they paid $300 a month for it. So anyway, what's up, 585? What do you want to phone in about?
Yeah, Zach, it's Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. What's going on, Mike?
I don't know if you've. I caught this yesterday, but there's this thing on I don't know if it's a documentary or something. It's like an hour long. It's on Amazon Prime Video, and it's called Seven Signs of Christ's Return, and that little film that came out in '97, and in the beginning of within the first 5 minutes of that little film, it shows footage of 9/11 when that thing came out in '97.
Interesting. All right, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, check it out.
All right, appreciate it, Big Mike. Thanks.
Yep.
All right, take care.
Have a good one.
Mr. Futures, again, and I'd make this argument too. When you put money in the market, when you put money in crypto, you are taking a calculated risk. You are using your mind for why you're risking your money on what you think it's going to do. The way we look at sports betting is very much the same thing. We're taking our data and our information and our pattern recognition skills, and we're saying this is the reason we find this game is worth investing X amount of money on tonight. Like I said, if you've played Detroit in 31 this year, it's hitting over 80% of games. Yesterday, it was 2 for 2 in the 2 narratives it had. There was a game at the end of last week where we had a great day, but the game that did burn me that day was the Detroit 31 narrative. Again, it's not going to be perfect, but who is perfect in any of their investments? And it's just like when it comes to the market, you guys, they always say you can't time the market. It's better to just put money in as you can afford to and ride it out for the long haul, because what everyone knows what the market does is eventually it climbs up even after periods of crashing down. And again, you look at these guys on, they do it in real life, and some guys do it on social media. These day traders, they take a stock that they've been studying and they know its patterns of how it bounces up and bounces down, and they call it candles. They're like, oh, here's the candle tip here, blah, blah, blah. But if you watch what they do, you guys, they know that after they see it make the move 3 times, then they know what it typically does right there. And there's certain guys, if you guys aren't aware of this, these guys are charging a fortune to watch what they do. But what they'll do is they'll come in with like $500,000. They're throwing $500,000 at it based on that third move that they were waiting for, because they're anticipating it's going to climb back up and just incrementally. And as soon as it makes that climb, they're pulling all their money right back out. And just in seconds, that $500,000, they might have just made $80,000 in 10 seconds based on how much the market bounced back up. But of course, the risk is sometimes these guys lose a lot of money just that fast too. Sometimes that pattern that they've been working and winning with, for whatever reason this day, it didn't do that. It did the exact opposite, or it might have even crashed harder. Some of these guys online, you can watch them lose $500,000 in a matter of seconds because it did something unprecedented, and it crashed so hard that the whole $500,000 they just threw in and anticipating and making their daily $50,000 to $80,000, it dropped so hard in that moment that their value of their thing just went down to $50. They had 500,000 and now it's 50. That's why I'm not teaching people to be crazy. I'm not teaching you to be like, oh, you know what? Detroit is hitting at 80%. So yeah, it's worth putting $500,000 on, because 80% odds tonight, you're going to turn that 500,000 into $1 million. That might be true, but there's also a 20% chance you're going to be worth $0 tonight. And to me, that's not a risk worth taking. And that's why you'll always hear the dummies that come out too. Why not just bet everything every day and become a billionaire? It's like, okay, moron, because if I can hit it 80%, by the fifth day of your method, even though I've been doing well the last 4 days, my net worth's probably going to become 0% today because it was the day that was the 20% side of the equation. Again, most people just have logical fallacies when it comes to everything because they cannot think clearly enough. All I have ever tried to do is give people knowledge to help them do better in this world. And that doesn't necessarily mean making money. At the end of the day, money's not something that makes me a very happy person. I discovered that when I was in my early 20s. I've told you that story a million times. I had a very well-paying job out of college. I was the only one of my friends who made six figures 1 year out of college. Everybody else had salaries of like, this is the mid 2000s. Average salary coming out of college back then was around 40,000. That's probably what all of my friends made, whether they're working in accounting or whatever else. Brand new at the marketing firm. A lot of my friends were in business school. Almost everybody was making about 40,000. I was the only guy making over $100,000 a year, and it didn't make me feel good about life. And I didn't like what I was doing because it felt totally corrupt. It was working in real estate and doing appraisals, and the whole appraisal industry was so corrupt back then. It was before the wheels fell off and there was the major housing market collapse. And anyway, I discovered about myself that after I quit that job and I went back to school because I knew I wanted to work with children and teach, I was working for minimum wage part of my time and volunteering. I was working for no money and minimum wage in a group home and a teen homeless shelter. And sure, I was making $10 an hour, which was minimum wage at the time, but I actually felt good about myself. I was enjoying my days. I was looking forward to going to work. I didn't have any guilt at night. I was excited about getting my degree so I could teach. I felt way better as a human being about myself. And that's also part of the reason that when I got into this, I felt really great about sharing knowledge, teaching. And I did it for free every day for 5 years. And you got all these haters that come along now. And they're like, the only reason you do this is so you can make money. They're like, no, I don't even know how you can make that argument. I mean, literally, here, if you ever want to say about me, first, here's what you have to go do. You have to go work at something every day for 5 years for free. And you got to do it. And you have to have proof that you did it, as I have proof that I did. Everybody who was here knows that that's exactly what happened from 2013 until September 2018. Here, every day, grinding around the clock, pumping out mass information. And I helped a lot of people in that time. And I felt great about it. Again, the thing that still makes me feel better, I feel better when I see other people had a great winning day than when I win for myself. Winning for myself isn't that exciting to me. Seeing that everybody like, man, Zach, I never hit like this. Oh my God, I can pay off my credit card debt. That's the great news to me. And again, for all who come around, oh, Zach's stuff was so good, he'd charge way more for it. Well, that can be your argument, but my stuff has been pretty great, life-changing, unprecedented. There's a lot of people who wait for me to put out picks, and then copy what I do and maybe put their own little spin on it and then charge $100 for what I just charged $5 for. There's a lot of people doing like that, and I don't even care. It's like, well, whatever. If somebody's going to come across his and they find it worth $100 and that's helping them out, that's fine. I'm doing just fine over here. Life's been good to me. I'm paying it forward. So anyway, tonight I'll be referencing today's live stream for anyone who wants predictions so that they can just see what we do day after day and the value of the knowledge. And I'm sure that will piss him off and say, oh, see, he can't make a prediction. It's like, well, people can rewind and see what we just did hours ago. You can join Patreon and see what we did today. And by the way, for anyone who wants to hop on today, there's some stuff out that looks okay today, but some days are better than others. A lot of things looked very good yesterday. Today, a lot of things look tight to me. So a little more conservative day today. And that's how you just got to roll with the way it is. You can't try to force a square peg through a round hole. We take what they give us. So yeah, I did drop a link for anybody who'd like to join, but really tonight, I would like to see more people getting on tonight, if that's even possible. I'm hoping it is. If you're a night owl, it's going to be going late. Again, that's their MO over there. They like to do these 6-hour debate things. Again, 2 hours, maybe 3 hours head to head. And then they open it up for the panel for people to come in and say their piece. I am really hoping tonight we get more people from our community to come on and get out the message. And also the hope is, this guy's connected to a bunch of these other career debaters some are even more famous than he is. I'd love to have a big Gematria debate every week, And honestly, that's the thing too. If I was getting beat down in a debate, I would admit it. I'd be like, you know what? Maybe you're absolutely right. A lot of these people, when they debate, because they want to win so bad, they cannot admit that they're getting defeated. And you're going to see that in the contestant tonight. He's going to try and just make bold claims and downplay and, oh, see, they can't predict anything. And for all of us who know, we'll just be laughing. I'm like, I can't predict anything, as we've smoked futures and called things that nobody else has ever called before at an unprecedented level for over a decade. But anyway, we got one person hopping on here so far. Let's let them on real quick. What's that plane Decoding?
Hey, I just want to say I tried to get on last time, but they kicked me off. Like, they wouldn't let me on. I don't know what happened, but I don't know if I can get on tonight. But one thing I wanted to say, is I left a comment on the last one, and Jim Bob responded. He was like, I was like, to answer Jim Bob's question, how is it useful? It's useful if you're someone who is seeing the media and then seeing reoccurring patterns, and then you see signs of a psyop with the reoccurring numbers. This is how you can avoid manipulation, right? And how you can not allow something that's because I'm an auto hoaxer. So things like these these spectacular events are likely hoaxes, in my opinion. And it's the rule, not the exception.
Just so you know, Plain Decoded, it's probably not good to use terminology like auto hoaxer, just like it's not good to refer to yourself as a conspiracy theorist, because those are terms that have been invented by the opposition, and they just have an automatic stigma with them. But you could just come out and say, listen, based on the fact that my evidence shows that what's in the media, especially these super sensational things, the evidence suggests that they are being contrived for political narratives, for agendas, to instill fear in the populace. I see that consistently. It just because essentially you're saying the same thing. I just wouldn't use the terminology that's been created to demonize people like you.
Yeah, that's good advice when you're dealing with I know that your audience is already aware, right? So, but and then if you keep it simple, 33. It's they already know that. That's why Jim Bob had it up on the screen. But it's legit. Why do we keep seeing this over and over again? And then when you know that and then when you see certain events when they have a guy who has got a Masonic pin on it and there's 33 dead, okay, this is a sign. You don't have to worry about this so much, right? So it's useful mostly with media consumption. Now, what they do is in that debate, they move the goalposts on you. They're like, no, how's it useful day to day? Well, a hammer is useful, but I don't take it with me everywhere I go. I keep it in the toolbox till I need it, right? It's not something that I'm not going, because they left the comment you're at T-ball practice and you're doing calculations. No, man, you're moving the goalpost. and also using that's a fallacy as well. That's like I'm not doing that, right? So you're creating a straw man that I don't do. So yeah, they're using a lot of fallacies, ad homs. They're using straw man, red herrings. Like when he started talking about how you were interested in kids or something, like that's a red herring. Like that has nothing to do with anything. So if you do brush up on your fallacies, like you can call them out on it, right? So yeah, I think that, and then make sure you have like my criticism of you is like make sure you have the answers for them because they're asking you like how's it useful. You don't go into the numbers because they don't like the numbers. Just tell them how it is useful. Like,
Well, again, I thought about doing it with Jim Bob. Honestly, I didn't even want to play my best cards against Jim Bob because I knew that he was worse than I thought he would be, but that was how I imagined he was going to be. And I did demonstrate all night how it's useful, and I came out with the opening statement of all the things we've used to take advantage of. But again, Andrew is very Christian, and he wears his Christianity on his sleeve. So I'm going to just start with Revelation 13 and say, listen, your own text says that if you have wisdom, you know how to calculate. And I'm going to ask him, I say, do you even know where that verse comes from or what it relates to? And we'll just build from there. And then also he has a very bad habit of smoking. I'm going to show him just how ritualistic it was when the Surgeon General first announced. I've talked about this years ago, but it's something I'm just going to bring back up. The Surgeon General, when they first announced to the U.S. populace that smoking causes lung cancer. I'm going to show them just how ritualistic that was. And this kind of ritualism is what goes on with our federal government every day. And it does reveal that they're also withholding information, and they only reveal the information when it is kabbalistically appropriate. So trust me, I'll do a better job debating tonight as well. And again, hopefully we keep climbing the ladder here of debaters and get this knowledge out in front of more people. So.
And then another thing, like I was thinking, is if you keep it simple, like, and one of the most like over the past year, one of the most obvious things to me, like the most simplest things, is the bridge collapse. It's a bridge collapse equals 128.
Exactly. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about. I'll remember to bring up things like that. The bridge collapse is a great and simple example. Absolutely.
Like
so I'll write that down to bring up the bridge collapse.
Yeah, because okay, what happens is we get this movie, Leave the World Behind. It shows a ship coming out and crashing, like just wildly, and then just so happens a few days later, a bridge hit.
Well, it wasn't exactly, it was a few months later, but yeah, I got you. And then what was written on that ship actually had the same gematria as what was all over the bridge collapse. But yeah, I'll do that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, buddy.
Okay.
Yep, good one. Bye. All right, we got a couple other people in the back room. About what Daria just said here. Remember, Pope Francis was hospitalized on Valentine's Day, 59 days after his birthday, like Pope Francis is 59. The word Pope alone is also 56. Like Society of Jesus, tomorrow is the 56th day of the year. 225 also has to do with the Trinitarian formula, which is very important to the Catholic Church. And it will be 70 days after his birthday, like Vatican and Francis are 70. It'll also be 105 days after the Superior General's birthday, when Jorge Mario Bergoglio was 105, his birth name. There's some other days that could work out, but that's what I've been thinking about while this is going on too. I was like, man, it's going to be something if they do it on the 56th day of the year. Talk about pounding home the point about the Society of Jesus and the Pope. Again, I don't even want to wish death on the Pope. He seems like at least on the surface, he seems like a nice little guy. But by the way, RSV equals 59, and that causes pneumonia in the elderly. That's exactly what my mom's dealing with right now. She got RSV and pneumonia, and it seems symbolic, you know. He's got it. A lot of the world's got it right now. It makes me wonder if that's even what's really going on with him in light of how he was hospitalized 59 days after his birthday. But a lot of the people in the world are dealing with that right now. All right, I'll go back over the super chats again. But what's up, Hood SBE? Thanks for hopping on again. We got Carizard on next. Carizard, but Hood SBE first. What's up?
Yeah, peace, brother. I hope all is well, Zach. I definitely am encouraging you to push this narrative forward, bro, because it's got to get in front of more people, the willing and the able to be able to understand it. So definitely appreciate you for doing that, putting up with these retards and rejects. But for Andrew Wilson, I know the previous caller mentioned the white line, leave the world behind. It would be very pertinent, in my opinion, if you introduce some of the early influences of the Jesuits on American history.
Like the Jesuit priest next to George Washington when he died?
Exactly. And the Jesuit infiltration of like some of the native tribes and the history behind that and how they recorded the information and set the framework. And then you could point to how the Jesuits traveled all over the world and repeated the same process before the East India Trading Company, which is the other side, the little J's, the Jews, Zionists, I should say. You could definitely harp on that and really nail them to the cross with that point, that they were instrumental in orchestrating things in American history and world history. I would probably lessen it on world history and focus more on America, since I think he's one of those conservative type guys. So I think that'd be better. But yeah, like you just mentioned, that gentleman who was standing beside George Washington, like how these secret societies have influenced the foundation of American history, and American history thus influenced the world history. So I think that'd be an excellent vector of attack.
Yeah, and that's going to be a hard angle for him to go against too, because he's a big opponent of the Catholic Church. So it almost seems like he's just going to have to concede the point.
Exactly. You're right. There you go. So yeah, I didn't want to say too much or waste your time on that, but I think that'd be an excellent way to do it. Kind of maybe not go too in depth, but in depth enough where we can kind of set up a bastion where he can't really attack that point,
Yeah, I hear it. I think that's a great idea. I appreciate it.
Well, no doubt. Wish you luck. The best of luck, Zach. Salute to you, brother. We'll catch you later.
All right, thank you. All right, and we got, he changed his name. What's up, Real Talk?
What's going on? I just wanted to bring up a point I've seen on the online debate sector. Anytime you're standing on business, you've got an orange in your hand, and they have an apple, the opposition, and they know, how much sweeter and much fuller of vitamin C that orange is over that apple, and they're just like, man, I really need that damn thing. So let me try to convince him that he has an apple in his hand. So it's always about transforming your argument into some discredited, absolute thinking. This is just hearsay, or where's the numbers? What's the real facts? After the fact, Zach, it's going to be some bullshit. He's always going to try to push you into his lens, which is just like an absolute thinking argument. When you have all these data points amongst, it could be entertainment, politics, sports, deaths, natural disasters, supposedly, where just with the earth and all the events, Enlil, the weather, the flooding, you have all of these abstract points that pinpoint to this one source of knowledge known as Gematria, and you're not buying into a story. There is no subjective Zachary K. Hubbard buying into the story. It's an objective Zachary, and it's objective listeners that call into the show like myself who can see the same pattern. So he's going to try to take you off of your orange, and he's going to try to convince you have an apple in your hand, and he's going to try to take shots once you're on his level. So it's always about keeping that distance and that separation, like you're in a boxing match and you've got the reach on him. Keep that separation with all of the abstract points that have nothing to do with an absolute thought process. There's nothing absolute about Gematria. So I just want to leave you on that. And I'm always seeing the debates, and there's always one person who's standing on some sort of truth that's objective. It's backed up in facts and evidence. And then the person who's on the counter podium there is trying to bring that person away from their facts and their evidence and their abstract pattern recognition processes, and to just push them into some garbage, some absolute thinking process. So I don't want to beat a dead horse, but that's pretty much all they have in their tool belt to try to counter whatever you're going to bring. And you have a fucking monsoon to bring. So you could be Enlil in this particular arrangement. Show no mercy and just flood them out with the facts. And I'll leave you on that.
I appreciate that, and I think that's a great strategy. So thank you.
Have a great one, man.
All
Good
right,
luck.
take care. All right, we got a Mr. Futures sighting. What's up, Mr. Futures?
What's going on, Zach? Salute, brother.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Definitely had to tap in real quick. I do want to start off by saying I watched the last debate you had with that fucking that clown Jim Bob or whatever. I was tuned
Thanks
in.
for all the donations, by the way. You don't have to do that tonight, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, nah, definitely. But I wanted to say also, like, for people who are watching these channels, right? Like your channel or any creators they support, you should definitely support them directly. All right. To get super chats when you're on that woman's platform who's obviously biased and not even on our side, is just pointless because she's getting it and it's not going directly to the person you support. And there's no guarantee that she's even gonna read it.
Well, just so you know, she can't. So the one thing I like is that she sets up StreamYard the right way so that I can plug in and he can plug in. So we're all streaming on our channels. And if you send a super chat to my channel, she still sees it just like he sees it. So these people get paid a ton anytime they stream. So yeah, what he's saying is if you're going to send a super chat tonight, send it to the guy you support, not through these people who are already making a fortune. But the way the system is, we can all see where any super chat goes to.
Oh, okay, that's good, that's good. But yeah, man, you shouldn't just be incentivized when Zach does debates. I mean, the work that he puts out all the time deserves some sort of support, and even something as small as $2. When you have a big community supporting you, it goes a long way. And it shows him that we continue to appreciate the work in general, not just Zach, but any creator that you support. So I just want to remind people that yes, Zach has never been dependent on super chats, but it's also, a good thing to do it because you support your content creators on Twitch, on Twitter, on TikTok, all this other bullshit. Why not give it to a person who's, impacted your life in a positive way? So
Here's the other thing I'd say about that. Again, I'm not telling anyone to give super chats tonight, but some people from the outside might be like, well, why is Andrew and this woman so well funded? And this guy's supposedly saying he's helping out all these people. And then you don't really see anything coming in on his end. It looks like it's all cap over there. And that's not cap. But I would say that my community, honestly, a lot of you guys in the sports gambling community, you could be more generous. I mean, so many you guys would be like, damn, Zach, I made 10 G's tonight. And you literally send over a cash app for $5. And I'm just like, where did you learn to tip? 10 G's, $5 tip?
Yeah, man.
I got people in my community saying I should be charging way more. They've never given a tip once in their life. It's like, if you feel like you should be paying more for it, why not send a tip? So yeah, tonight would also be a decent time to do it. And that's really the one reason that could make sense to do it in these debates is just for people on the outside being like, well, why are they so well funded? And Zach's corner, there's not really much going on over there.
That's a great point. That really is a great point. Because as you said, these other platforms are so well funded, and you could tell that people really, really support the work. And it's about time that this community stepped up in that way. It's more about just the words and just putting some action and some financial support behind it, right? Even $1 really goes a long way. So that's really what I was saying. People should be more incentivized to do it on a daily basis, on a regular basis, and not just when you have these debates that are going on. You know what I mean? So that was it. But focusing on the debate, right? I did want to say I watched the last one. I think you did a great job. Honestly, it was obvious everybody was against you. You were under attack the entire stream. And I pretty much think it's going to be something very, very similar tonight. I do think that he's mainly going to focus on the religious element of it and attack probably your lack of knowledge or your lack of being well versed in his specific religious texts. So I don't want you to fall for that. And then just remember that, yeah, you're going against a debate against Andrew, but you should be speaking more to the people that are watching it and the people across the world that will tune into it, because we're never going to bring these people over to our side, right? It's not going to happen. So just don't let them bait you. Don't let them get under your skin.
Hold on, to rewind. By that, you mean we're not going to bring Andrew to our side, but we could bring people in his audience to our side, correct?
Exactly.
And that's the way I look at it. Exactly. That's why I want to get it out in front of you. I know Andrew's not going to concede his point, even if he knows he's losing. He thinks he wins every debate.
100%.
But people in his audience will be like, yeah, maybe he does lack the wisdom. He doesn't know anything about this 666 thing. And I'll just be dropping 666s tonight that are important to understand. So
yeah, the religious fanatics are some of the most difficult people to kind of break through to. And obviously because they're wearing blinders when it comes to to their specific belief system or religion or whatever. But here's the thing that really, really frustrates me. And for anybody who may have a personal dislike against Zach, I really want you guys to take this point home. Just because you attack Zach on a personal level or you don't like him as far as a character flaw or the way he is, doesn't mean that you should attack the validity of the work. So I don't care how much you are a troll of this specific individual, Zach. If there's any part of you that believes in how concrete this work is, leave it alone. You know what I'm saying? You don't even know this person in real life. You met him on YouTube. You never had a conversation with Zach personally on a one-on-one basis. And these personal attacks, I feel, are very, very, it's a straw man argument to attack you personally because they don't like you, as opposed to actually poking holes in the work. The work is undeniable. You have truth and logic on your side. So people need to wake up and stop being women and attacking you for personal dislikes.
Well, that might offend some of the women. They are 20% of our viewers, but we know what he said. The men in our era are a lot more emotional. And you know what? I think you're a little bit younger than me, Vic, and you're not the rule. But I swear to God, I noticed when I was coming up, the guys who were born a year behind me, it's like something started in that infamous year in 1984. It was just like somehow like the feminine energy in the I feel, I don't know if the vaccine schedule changed that year, but there is just so much effeminate energy in younger men. It's sad, and I feel like a lot of my haters are these younger guys in their 20s, 30s, get just so emotionally damaged. It's like, you guys, here's what you should see about me. I'm not always nice, but look at what I do for people. Do I not always try to like lift people up and give them a platform and give people like 1,000 chances? The guy who just came on at the beginning, he's driven me nuts 50 times in the past. He came on the other day, he built something, and I said, all right, fine, come on and promote it. Sure. I give people a million chances. And if you can't see that, I've been here helping people out. If they would just open their mind to what we're saying, again, you're not paying attention.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've had that argument behind the scenes. I've always believed that you're way too forgiving. Like, you're forgiven to a fault at times. I'm pretty sure that's not the first time you've heard that. But there's so many examples of it. You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of on the other side of the coin when it comes to that. But yeah, you've done a lot, man. And one thing in the last debate that I really wish you kind of would have brought up, maybe you did, maybe I didn't see it, is they kept really harping on what is the benefit of the knowledge, right? Like, can you give me an example on how this made somebody's life better besides the financial part of it? And yeah, that's a big part of it, right? But I'll always give you this credit, and this directly impacted my family on so many levels. Since day one, since COVID happened, you have been anti-vax, huge anti-vax. You've promoted it, you've spoken about it, you've given arguments at great length and detail. And I want to tell you personally, I was on your side 100%. And I had infights in my family on people who are having the difficulty of going back to work and the threat of not having a job or a 401k. And I stuck my foot in the ground, and I standed on the fact that we were not going to do that and take that vaccine. And you saved a bunch of people's life with that, Zach. And I don't know, because you do things every day, that might be something that you overlook. But look where we are now with these vaccines and what's coming out about them, and all the adverse effects that they're having on people, and how many people died behind taking those shits, right? These experimental medications that they gave us.
Yeah, and it's hard to talk about that because these before that debate happened, I got sucked into something on their channel, and I said the actual small mustache man's name, and they all started freaking out. They're like, "You can't say that name on here." So they like a lot of. So unfortunately, there's certain topics that are hard to talk about, especially on other people's platforms. I think I did try to bring that up a little bit, how we were out in front of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on
Yeah,
March
you did.
13th.
I heard that one.
But again, it's just because of the age we live. But yeah, it is important. I am going to try and bring it up tonight because I'm going to explain how that VACCINATION word has that 666 value in it. and why they simulated it 666 days before it went down, and what Revelation 13 is about, and how you must have that 666 thing if you want to buy or sell. And you can see how they were playing on that in the time of the scandemic. So I do intend to bring that up tonight in the debate.
Yeah, man, it was great watching it, man. I've always given you credit because you have a very, very unique talent of being able to recall information and connect things to support an argument on the spot. It's something you do very, very well. And you know, I've never really seen anybody kind of rattle you, right? The only person that rattles you would be yourself. And I would say just to you know, keep your composure, you know, just ignore any personal attacks that may come your way, because you know, and a lot of people know
he's not going to be like Jim Bob. He'll say some stuff tonight, but he's not like Jim Bob. Jim Bob just runs his mouth. And again,
well, is it going to be a closed debate, or will other people be able to come up? Because that's really what I'm talking about. It may not be Andrew, but it will be some other version of a troll that may come up and try to personally attack you.
Oh, I'm sure that once the panel opens, it's going to be a lot like last week. But
okay, yeah. So that's really what I'm speaking to, is that, you know.
Well, the good news is, well, I didn't get great sleep last night. I got better sleep last night than I did last time before the debate, but there's no such thing as great sleep anymore. So
great, yeah, nah. Well, I'm listen, man. I'm rooting for you always. I'll be there to support you, and you know, I know you're gonna do great anyway. So don't even stress it, and just represent us well like you always do. So
all right, appreciate it, man. Thanks again, Vic.
Take care.
Have a good one. Bye. All right, we got the Phillies ace. What's up, the Phillies ace?
Hey Zach, how you doing, my friend? Yo, I can't wait for tonight's debate. I can't wait. Because these numbskulls out there that try to debate you.
I would encourage you guys not to stay up on the East Coast and watch the whole thing, because that's just too late, but you can always watch the rest later.
Right. Yeah, I can't wait, because these people that try to either are scared to debate you, or the ones that come only have the alternative motive to attack you personally. They never come with the numbers. They never come and try to retract. Like if you talked about 666 in Revelations, he's going to come with other things about, oh, he's going to go to sports because that's more easier to attack than what you're really coming with the knowledge to put everything together. These people are only going to be there to try to detract of what you say because they're under control. That's what people don't understand, that you're trying to explain to people. They want to control us. It's all about control. So they're under that mindset still. So they think that the way that they believed all their lives how they're supposed to live our lives is under control. That's why we're divisive now. That's why we have everything by different colors, different nationalities. Everything is divided. Our country is divided by blue states and red states. People don't bring that up, and you talk about that all the time. You know what I'm saying? It's all about control and how they use all these Kabbalistic words to divide us. Because you know everybody's not going to understand the things that we talk about, like sports is rigged. Oh, how can a guy make a jump shot when he's in the air or whatever like that? They're going to make these false narratives to try to counterbalance, especially with sports. And that's why they're going to attack you more in sports. They can't attack you with the knowledge of, like, when you're going to bring up the Bible and stuff and things like that. They won't attack you like that. And if you do go against it, they blame you for it, which is sad, right? Because they have no objectivity. They just want to be able to think they're in the right state of mind. They're right. They're always been right, and that's why you have people like that attack us. What you try to do. You've been doing this since 2012.
13.
And they're still trying to attack you. That's why no mainstream person is really going to come and do it, because they're scared they might get killed themselves. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have Joe Rogan and these guys ever try to come publicly and debate you? No, it ain't going to happen, because they'll probably end up like Diddy and like R. Kelly in jail, and they're going to try to knock them off like that. You know what I'm saying? That's all. It's just ridiculous how these people don't want to open up their minds. At least if you don't have to agree with everything you say, at least have open up your mind to at least take something in and take what you don't like and move on. But these people don't even give you an ounce of credit for what you do, and I appreciate you, man. I don't even know how to decode that well, but everything that you talk about, you see in real life.
Again, my estimate is you put this information out to 10 people, it'll resonate with one of them. And if you don't put it out at all, that one person's not getting it. And hopefully in the future, those ratios will improve. But it's just something about where society is. Society is very closed-minded, and it's going to have to take more people pushing forward and sharing information and making their point and consistently over years for those 9 people in the group whose minds are shut off to come around. And it's just like my dad. My dad was shut off at first. He thought that what I was doing had to be dumb, and there's no way the sports game could be rigged. But I always say, the conference championship of the year is Super Bowl 50. He was saying, Zach, there's no way that Manning can beat Brady. That's never going to happen. You're out of your mind. And then sure enough, not only did Manning beat Brady, he went on to win the Super Bowl like I'd been telling him he was going to all year because the whole thing was rigged. And he's never really argued with me ever since then. He's been asking and inquiring, and he sees day after day that, the ideas I have about the games are right. I don't get them all right. So I'll be like, well, what happened in that one? And I'll be like, well, what happened in the last 5 you asked me about? He's like, yeah.
And that's another thing that we can't control. Like somebody brought up a long time ago, that you're not in the room with these people that do this, make these decisions of how they're going to fuck with us. You know what I'm saying? You can only go off of the narratives of what we know with the knowledge that you obtained. And They do pull the rug out from under you. You see that a couple of times happening, and then that's when they attack you. Oh, you said the Chiefs were going to win. Oh, you were wrong about that. So now you must not know what the fuck you're talking about. Which is,
for the record, you guys, the Phillies ace, who might be a little bit biased because he's from Philly, he liked the Eagles to win. He thought that the NFL needed to have the Eagles win because the whole Chiefs cheating narrative, or the thing being rigged for the Chiefs. And he was absolutely right. So I imagine too many people didn't give you shit about that because you were adamant that the Eagles had the better narrative.
Well, the only reason, because it's because of you, Zach. That's what people don't understand. You bring out both narratives. And when I saw that 55, Zach, that 55 really changed everything, because 55 was Brandon Graham. He didn't play until the Super Bowl. And then when he had that strip sack against Brady, and another thing, when Trump got back in office, he took down all the flags but the American flag. And where's that American flag sewn in? Philly, right? So I was just going off that because sometimes you decode the numbers. Always they flip the script on you with these numbers because they know we're catching on, Zach. So they have to do that. Oh, these guys don't to lose, so we can lose our validity of what we're talking about. But that 55 really stood out. And then when you showed that picture of Kobe in that picture, I said, yeah, it has to be happening. And you always, and every time there was a natural disaster, like in Houston, when that plane crashed here, I said, yeah, they're pulling the rug out from everybody here. That's how I felt towards it. It's not always the numbers. It's sometimes of what you see in society. Sometimes maybe I don't know how I don't know, because my problem is I don't know when to go too deep and when not to go too deep. Like when you say some things are better service level, that's my problem, So, yeah.
Absolutely.
But I'm going to support you tonight, man. And hopefully they allow you to speak. They don't try to run you off the table, or allow us people that support you be able to be able to articulate everything that you're going to articulate tonight. But I support you, Zach. You know that.
Appreciate it, man. I'm glad I got people like you out there. So thank you again.
I appreciate you too.
All right. Yeah. Have a good one, man. All right. I do got to wrap this up in about 10 minutes. If anybody else wants to hop on and say something real quick, I just dropped the link one more time in the chat. And again, some of you guys aren't subscribed to Gematria Effect News 25. I am streaming on 3 channels right now. The debate will be on Gematria Effect News 25. It won't be on 22. It won't be on Gematria Effect Sports. Make sure you're subscribed to Gematria Effect News 25. That's been the main channel for years now. Let's see. When did I create this channel? It's growing very slower than any channel. It's existed since March 10th, 2022, yet people on Gematria Effect News 22 still don't know that it exists. Whenever I post, I feel like, oh, you haven't posted anything in forever. It's like, oh my God, these people, man. I haven't always used this channel since it was created, though, because I did create this channel at one point, and I was doing a lot more on Gematria Effect News 24 and 23. For a while, those were the active channels, and I had this as a backup in case they went down. One of those channels had way more subscribers on it, but both of those got deleted a year or so back. So, yeah, this channel has now existed for almost 3 years, and no channel has ever grown slower. And if you guys have watched the subscribers on this channel, right when it got close to 45K subs, it took a whole week for it to grow like 10 subs to get to 45K. And now that it hit 45K, it's growing very slowly again. It's hard. And it just reminds that you guys, that's the way YouTube has always been for channels like mine. Like when you hit a milestone of a new 100, it'll take you forever. Like you'll grow from, let's say you were at 200 subs. You'll go from 200 to 295 in a day or two. And then you can't get from 295 to 300, but for a whole nother week. And then you finally get there, and then it goes up to 395 like in a day or two. And then you can't get to 400, but for a whole nother week. And it's so obvious that it's something they do with their algorithm to channels that they do not want to grow. It's just so viciously obvious when you're watching your stats each day and you're like, really? I just can't get 5 subs for the last 5 days. And you see what happens. Like you'll grow a sub and then you'll drop a sub, grow a sub, drop a sub. It's like, it's something they've done. And then you got people in the comments, Zach, I got unsubbed again. You're like, this is how it works. They put you in this thing where if you gain a sub, it kicks off an old sub. Anyway, Mr. Futures wanted to hop back on.
Well, yeah, Zach, I wanted to say one thing I forgot when I was on here. So I just wanted to remind people, yes, it's very important tonight that Zach does have support. Because, you know, it's just like any other thing, right? When somebody that you support goes up for a debate or a big job interview, like you want to show your support. But it's important that Zach has the right kind of support tonight. And what I mean by that is if you're going to come on and you're going to try to support him, it's important that your arguments are very concise and very, very clear, right? You have to be very, very clear what the point you're trying to get across, and to act like you're speaking to a child or someone who doesn't necessarily support the idea you're trying to get across, because first impression is the only impression and it's everlasting, right? So if you're gonna be courageous and get on there and try to make a point to support him, it's important you do it. It's important you do it in a great way, and you don't create an opportunity for someone to punch a hole in your argument, and then it goes against Zach. So that's just what I wanted to say, is that if you're gonna come on tonight, just make sure you're prepared. And we don't need people getting on up there to ramble on and say things that aren't necessarily going to benefit our point of view or the argument overall. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I concur. And I know some of you guys come on with the best intentions, but you're not the best at articulating points. Leave that spot open. The gentleman who came on late in the thing yesterday and rattled off like 3 bulletproof Gematria decodes, that was good. It didn't. The panel didn't give it any credit, but there might have been a person out there listening who's like, wow, that was really interesting. Again, write it down if you need to say something. If you have trouble speaking in the moment or the pressure, have it written down so you know exactly what you wanted to say.
Exactly. That's my point. And because I know I specifically tried to get on last time, I wasn't allowed to get on. I just stayed. You know, I kept trying to refresh it. I wasn't allowed to get on. And I know
just so we understand, that's the way it works too. Because when you're on StreamYard, I think it's like max 10 people can be in the back room. So if 10 people are back there, when you try to line, it's going to say the back room is full. Yep. So you're going to have to consistently try to get on. And what I'm going to ask her again tonight is, listen, let people come on and have 5 minutes, and then let the next person on. We don't need somebody to sit on here for 2 hours. That Gematria tomato guy I guess that's a friend of the panel, but I mean, he was just such a waste of time. Just like it's like, get him out of here and let somebody else come on and say something tonight. I mean, so I'm going to ask for that tonight. I don't know if it's going to be granted, but I'm hoping that's what happens. And I did already communicate that through an email, and I'm going to ask for it again. So hopefully we get a whole lot of different opinions come on tonight. And understand, you guys, there's going to be way more people on Andrew's side because he has a massive channel and a massive cult following. So it is going to be hard. It's going to be biased towards them. I mean, that goes without saying. But if you want to get on tonight, again, you're just going to have to try to get in there early, but just keep trying. Maybe you see somebody drop off, boom, see if you can get in that open window. So,
and if you're not able, and if you're not able to get on, I think the second best way to show your support is to follow the stream on one of Zach's channels and make a direct super chat or something that at some point will be read. You know,
because she'll read all the super chats, whether it's $1, $2, or X amount of dollars. Betty Spaghetti, if you're out there, thank you so much for all your generosity. Please don't donate that much tonight. Then again, had you not donated, we wouldn't. You and Victor pretty much had 80% of the donations. But I don't want you guys to donate that much to me. Save your money. I do appreciate it, though. But yeah,
Listen, it's what needs to be done sometimes, Zach. You know, you can't. The thing I always like to believe is you can't ask somebody to do something that you wouldn't do. So I would hope by seeing me step up and donate and drop a super chat that people feel, you know, incentivized to do the same type of thing. So that's always something I live by, and that's why I'm there to support you. And even when you don't ask for it, you know, I'll still be there to support it. So.
I appreciate that a lot, Vic. I remember reminding something she said last week. She said at one point she's only going to read super chats over $4.99. So maybe that's the right entry point if you want to get a message out there. And if you do write a message, make sure it's written clearly. And
Yes.
you know, because again, there's people watching. So again, $4.99 might be the right super chat tonight if you got one brilliant message to share. And thank you to anyone who does do that.
And it's important to remember too, there's ways to be creative and connect. Like if you'll see one of the messages I dropped last week, the actual moderator said, you know, before she read my message, she said, I actually support this and believe this as well. And she pretty much co-signed what I was saying about, you know, your resiliency and your composure that you were holding throughout the platform. So it's not always about supporting Zach specifically with like a Gematria example or anything. You can tap into the human element of it as well and just highlight some of the things you might appreciate about what's going on throughout the argument, or things that need to be kind of like, you know, highlighted besides that. So I do want to say before I get off, I'll let somebody else get on. Shout out to Logan Thomas. He brought up a great point. He said Andrew Wilson's brand is not one that will allow him to be one-upped. So he will reach and his community will yell, he's not reaching in support of him. That's just how his network works.
Yeah, he has a cult following. So, and they think that he's never lost a debate. Which
Insane. And I'm well aware of this guy. I've watched him previously, so it's something I'm looking forward to, and I will be tuned in. But yeah, Zach, that was more for the community, and you know what they'll be doing tonight. I want to get that out there to support you the right way, because I feel like that's very, very important also. And I'm just hoping we have a great showing besides you. Like our community has a, you know, we come across in a great way, because that's a shot that a lot of people take as well. It's like, Zach, you say you built up this incredible community, but where is it? You guys are always fighting. There's infighting. It's negative.
That's the thing. Everybody wants to compete, right? Everyone wants to compete. So that's
it's
part
about
of our
time.
problem.
In 2025, we've had our time for doing that, right? We've wasted years doing that bullshit, and it's gotten nobody anywhere. Nobody's better off for it. It's time we step up in the right way, put our petty differences aside, whatever the hell it may be, and just really support the work. You may not support the creator, but support the work, get it out the right way, and put it, put a great face on it, right? As a politician would say. So
appreciate it, Vic. Thank you. All right, have a good night. All right, I got to be off in 10 minutes for sure. I'm gonna go a little over, but Jay up, and then Science Guy, and then we got Taterade in the background. I'll bring you on in a second, Taterade. But I got to be done here in 10 minutes. Jay's first.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on basically like the argumentation side of like the whole debate and stuff like that, and mainly just like the whole like predictions side of things. And that like obviously like when it comes to predictions, like you've made a lot of predictions, but I do want this whole idea that because you don't predict something that it can't have any validity to it. It's just like that they keep trying to like put on the people who decode is just retarded. Like I don't even want to like validate their whole like mentality of like, oh well, because you didn't predict it, that means it must not have any. It's like when you show one of the earliest videos that I ever showed that I ever saw on your channel back in the summer of 2020 was, first off, that was a prediction. It was the LeBron James with the King James, winning on a real King James birthday. And then you were talking about how he will win it again in the 17th season, which was spot on. But like, for one, that was a prediction. But even if you had decoded that after the fact, like the 41 weeks after his own birthday, or the year that Kobe dies, and Kobe Bryant died at 41, and it's 41 weeks exactly after his birthday on Father-Daughter Day. Even with it not being a prediction, even if you had decoded that after the fact, anybody that's not retarded should have automatically been like, okay, yeah, that's weird. The Chadwick Boseman shit, him winning on the King James birthday years earlier, when they call him King James playing for the Cavaliers, when the Cavaliers fought for King James. I mean, it's obviously scripted, pointing out that the Pentagon was destroyed on the same day that construction began for it. Like it goes, that's another thing that's annoying, is that it goes way beyond like maybe, I don't know. I want to say maybe it might help to like not only refer, because you don't just show gematria, you show way more than the gematria. You're like, your channel has put me on, like you put me on to a lot of information, just period, when it came to just even surface level shit. And it's crazy because these guys will clown you and they'll attribute everything that, or they'll attach everything that you say only to the gematria, but they completely ignore all of the other stuff that you show and point out without the gematria that they can't even notice or show on their own channel, but yet they still try to shit on you. When I went on Chaotic Truth live stream, he want these people act like they know everything, and that's the number one problem with these people with so-called truth seekers, is that they think that once they learn enough information that they can stop, and they can just shut out everybody else, because anything else that somebody has to say, they don't immediately feel like, oh, this is going to be helpful. Oh, I don't need this. I don't have to learn about this. Like that tomato nigga, like guy is just so annoying, so head shoved so far up his ass. He thinks that he can just stop at a certain point, and that if you try to come at him with any information, oh, I don't need it, I don't know it. And it's retarded, because he talks about, he knows Freemasonry is a thing, but you don't feel like it's important to study one of the things that Freemasons use, which is numerological occult practices. Like, it's just, oh, let's just stop there. It's like, these are not true intelligent people. These are not people that are actually about information. I've never once thought that, oh, I can stop now. Oh, there's nothing else to learn. There's always something more to learn. There's always something that we don't have, or that we could use, that will be important for, especially when it comes to proving our point. Because this surface level a lot of shit that you point out, that they will be like, oh, this is enough. It's not enough. It's not enough for most people. most people need to have it pointed out to them, like, oh shit. And when I went on a Chaotic Truth stream, he didn't even know that construction started on the Pentagon on September 11th of the year 1941, the same year that the Pearl Harbor bombings happened, which what they compare 9/11 to. And then it's like, okay, the Pentagon gets destroyed on the same day, like years later, like on that, like, come on, like they don't even know shit like this, but they claim to know, oh, we don't need the gematria. They don't even know surface level shit. That ain't even don't even have anything to do with gematria. That's just on a surface level. George H.W. Bush giving his speech, oh, about the terror attack, about how the world will be free from terror on September 11, 1990. You put me onto that shit. None of these other niggas put me on to shit like that. You don't just talk about gematria. You talk about how the guys are mocking you in general. You point out how these people are mocking you in general. Like when the bridge collapsed on the same day that Joe Biden was supposed to meet in that same city where the bridge collapsed about infrastructure. He's supposed to go to Pittsburgh to talk about infrastructure. Done on the same day a bridge collapse. You're also pointing stuff like that out. You're showing the entire scope of just how much they mock you. So I don't like that these people, all they try to do is act like you only show numbers when you don't just show numbers. And I think it might help to not just call your channel a gematria channel, but basically just show how you're overall recognizing patterns.
Well,
Because
remember, it's the gematria effect, right? It's like we have
Yeah.
the knowledge, and with gematria, the effect
Yeah.
is it amplifies the knowledge. It's like you can see even more about it. You can see how they're making
Exactly.
history repeat. The point about
Exactly.
the bridge collapse, we point out that day how the bridge that collapsed, Fern Hollow equals 128, like bridge
Exactly.
collapse equals 128, and it crashed on 128. Then a
Exactly.
few years later, a bridge collapses at 1:28 a.m., 128 days from Biden's birthday, 128 days from Francis Scott Key's birthday, when
Yeah.
it's the Francis Scott Key Bridge.
Yeah.
Again, that's the power of the knowledge. You see through the ritualism, and you can
Exactly.
understand how it's being done ritualistic.
You understand the totality of it.
Yeah, Jay, trust me, I'm gonna talk, and again about you. Again, he's gonna try to make that argument that it's only useful if you can use it for prediction, and I'll say that's totally bunk. Then his knowledge is his religion's worthless because he doesn't use it to make predictions. If this is the testament, and again, by studying the past, it allowed me to see what's going on in the present and allowed me to make predictions about the future, which I've demonstrated for over a decade. I'll make all those points tonight. I'll defeat his argument's going to be really weak. And he's going to have to fall back on the fact that, it's not having wisdom to know how to calculate the beast when we're demonstrating
say the same thing every time. They say the same thing every time. Like,
yeah.
it's just...
No, he's going to take the L, but he won't admit it. And people with brains will see that he's limiting himself. And that's the other thing they do argue. They argue that all they need to know is the knowledge within their holy book, and that's the pinnacle. And I'll say, listen, that they might come on the ballot. They're limiting themselves. They're arguing that you should remain ignorant. And that's essentially what his whole premise is tonight. So, Jay, I do got to wrap it up, but appreciate you, man. And yeah, great points as always. Thank you.
That's all I wanted to say.
All right, take care, Jay. All right, we got Science Guy in the building. What's up, Science Guy?
What's up, Zach?
Yeah, how you doing, man?
Yeah, don't make this quick since you got to go in a minute. Kind of piggybacking off of what Jay was talking about, people like Andrew Wilson and whatnot. He said he tries to push this argument of him and Jim Bob, right? When you were debating Jim Bob last time, he was talking about what can this work? What can this knowledge help you with besides finances and whatnot? And it's just I don't even understand how that's a good argument because it's it's just kind of a stupid argument, especially when you're just putting all the information out there. It's very clear how this can help you, see the patterns and see what the elites have planned and stuff. How can this not help you in your personal life? I mean, it definitely helped a lot of people to not get that jab. I mean, that's definitely important. But I find it funny, the sources coming from, because it's Jim Bob and a lot of these guys, they're big Christians. And it's well, how can Gematria help you in your personal life? And it's how is Christianity helping you in the world? I mean, the same people that are Jim Bob and whatnot running around claiming they're, followers of the book. I mean, these are some of the worst human beings you'll ever see.
We don't want to do that argument, though, but we want to show them how as Christians, it gives them the knowledge in Revelation 13. Here's the wisdom. Are you going to deny the wisdom and the undeniable examples? So, yeah, I do appreciate it, Science Guy. I do got to hop off, though, and I got to let one more person talk, but I appreciate it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. All right, Taterade, you get the last word. What's up?
Yeah, I actually... Last time I talked to you, I asked who you thought the NBA Finals were going to be, and you said the Celtics and the possibly the Thunder. But I did a huge decode. It's definitely not the Thunder, and but it's definitely the Celtics are involved. And but I want to talk about the what was it? The Super Bowl. The Super Bowl was a Michael Jordan ritual because if you do the gematria of Jordan equals 62 and 26. There's 62 total points, and Michael Jordan turned 62 this year.
He played his last game against Philly also. Yeah.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, Jordan played his last game against Philly.
Okay. So
his last game's perfectly synced with Kobe's last game.
All right. And yeah, when he played the All-Star game in New Orleans, Michael Jordan did, and he scored 40 points.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, on the 40th day of the year. Yeah, that's good. I got to look more into that angle.
And also there was the clue that the 40 points would be scored also because LeBron James became the second ever player to score 40 points at age 40, and he beat Michael Jordan. It was 40 years and 40 days, and Jordan did it in 40 years and 38 days.
Jordan, biblical word, just 40 days, 40 big number in the Bible. All right, Taterade, I appreciate all that. We'll have to
I could keep going for a long time, but I know I'm the last guy, so I just kind of got on here late too. I didn't even know what you guys were talking about earlier, so...
All right. Yeah. I do got to wrap it up, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
See you, man. All right. There was one more gentleman who wanted to hop on, but I do need to get off. Again, debate starts tonight, 6:15 Pacific, 9:15 Eastern time. Know your time zones. I'm a West Coast guy, so it'll be 6:15 Pacific my time. Again, they do like to do 6-hour live streams. I'm intending to tough it out for 6 hours again. And yeah, if you guys can show up, and when they open up the panel for new night owls, I'm hoping she's going to have a lot more people on this time and keep it moving and not let certain people sit on there for 2 hours who don't need to be on there. It would be nice if we could get more voices from our community. It's going to be hard, though, because, again, Andrew's got a big following. It's going to be his people crowding in. And again, another way to get heard is just dropping. It sounds like last time she said she's only reading super chats over $5. So you can try less and see. But yeah, that is another good way to potentially leave a message. So we'll leave it there for now. The debate will happen tonight. Again, stay healthy, you guys. There is some nasty outbreak definitely going on. Sounds like it's all over the states, maybe all over the world. Keep that immune system high. Flu's nasty. Till next time, True Seeker.